I've been down a rabbit hole today, and I don't like it. So, there's an interesting thing about being a fan of superheroes and a comic book genre. It's great. It's awesome. You know, there's always the argument that, hey, this is just for kids. Why do you care so much? So, growing up a comic book fan, growing up a superhero fan, you know, there are just certain things that you just accept. And then when you become an adult, you stop accepting those things. So I have been reading What If Wanda Maximoff and Peter Parker Were Siblings, a Scarlet Witch and Spider-Man story. And by reading, I mean I've been listening to. And there's something that I've just come to accept about in the comic book world, and most of us have too. And it's the idea that Peter Parker grew up essentially poor, right? He grew up with his aunt and his uncle who are elderly. They're doing the best they can. Sorry. Some people forget that having a loud truck does not help with the overcompensation. But anyway, Peter Parker grows up humble. He's poor. You know, he's the weaker version of the poor upbringing, the humble upbringing that Superman is, right? So that's fine. We all accept that. Except I'm an adult now. And the interesting thing about this storyline is I can no longer just accept that. See, what most people seem to forget, and Amazing Spider-Man, the movies with Andrew Garfield, sort of touched on it, but Peter's parents, they worked for Nick Fury. Like, not just worked for Nick Fury, but like Nick Fury in his CIA days. So, like, they most likely would eventually have joined S.H.I.E.L.D. if they had lived. So here's my problem. As an adult male who works for the state that I live in, I've learned something interesting recently, and that is that pension plans exist. Follow me here, because like I said, it's a rabbit hole. So pension plans, within pension plans, it is set up to you have survivor benefits, beneficiaries. So that way when you die, depending on how long you have worked for that state, that government agency, whatever, your family gets money. So here's my problem. In the What If storyline, we know that his parents worked for Nick Fury. And I believe, actually, specifically, is stated in this book that they actually work for S.H.I.E.L.D. So what happened to the pension plans? Follow me here. Like I said, rabbit hole. I went and looked it up. New York does have pension plans for their government employees, and New York actually has one of the better pension plans for the government employees. But like I said, they worked for the federal government, either S.H.I.E.L.D. or the CIA, so they actually have a federal pension plan. And with federal pension plans, the idea is as long as you have worked for 18 months with the federal government, then you have a pension plan that is solidified, and there are survivor benefits. As long as your people are named the beneficiaries, they will go ahead and get that money. So with children specifically, as long as they are under the age of 18 and they are unmarried, and the unmarried part comes into where, like, if they go straight to college after they turn 18 and they're full time, they can continue to keep getting benefits until they're 22, as long as they're unmarried. They get monthly payouts every single month, 50% of the salary that his parents were making. Again, we all just accept that Peter Parker grew up poor, but you're not going to tell me, in this story specifically, in which they find Wanda on a mission where they almost died, and they don't die till 5 years later. Peter and Wanda are literally 6 years old when they die in the plane crash. You're not going to tell me that as S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who are constantly in danger, his mother is the combatant, and Richard is obviously the very smart one where Peter gets the smarts. You're not going to tell me that they didn't have their kids listed as beneficiaries. You're not going to tell me that they didn't have Uncle Ben or Aunt May listed as beneficiaries. You cannot tell me that these kids were not supposed to be getting payments until they are 18. And then the other part is, too, when you really think about it, that would be 4 incomes coming into that house. That would be Richard, that would be Mary, that would be May, and that would be Ben. Because there ain't no way May wasn't working. So you're telling me in New York City, 4 adults, 2 of them who work for the CIA or SHIELD, when they die, giving both their kids monthly payments to their pension plan, and Uncle Ben and Aunt May couldn't support them? And these are the same Aunt May and Uncle Ben that we always know. They're the loving people. They're not squandering that money. They're not Frankie Muniz's parents, right? They have done the right thing their whole entire life. That's where great power, must also call great responsibility, comes from, because of how great people they are. So where is that money? And I get it. This storyline of Peter's parents being part of SHIELD or CIA is an unpopular storyline. I get that. But at the same time, it's still part of 616 canon, and it's now part of this world's canon in this what-if scenario. So where is that money? That's also not considering the fact that that's just the pension plan. That's just the retirement. What about the life insurance? Which then also brings another question, because the story keeps going that Peter's always trying to support Aunt May after Uncle Ben dies. You're telling me pension plan, life insurance from the younger Parkers, and then Uncle Ben doesn't have life insurance after watching his brother and his sister die? Where is this money? I'm sorry, like, as an adult, I'm wrapping my head around the fact that Peter probably should have grown up more likely upper middle class at the very least. He should not have been struggling. There should have been no reason for him to parade around as a wrestler to make quick money, because they would have had money. And yes, it is a rabbit hole. So before people start trying to correct me in the comments, I understand that also in main 616 canon, they are labeled as potentially traitors to America. So that might be what might hold up their benefits. But then later on, when it's proved that they weren't traitors to America, again, working for the government agency that I do, we do back pay. So where is that money? And then in this what if story, they're not traitors to the country. They didn't die as traitors. So there definitely should have been payment. I don't know. Like, I'm probably way too hung up on this right now. And it's been a very long day of researching all this. But I am sorry. They should not be poor. Because we have to come to two different realizations, right? One, it's just an oversight that all writers of Marvel have just glanced over and don't realize that we should be discussing. Or two, we're saying Richard and Mary Parker were terrible and did not set up benefits. Which one is more likely? Anyway, I'm done ranting about this now, but feel free to discuss it in the comments. You know, I'm an upcoming author. Thank you for always getting caught up with me, and I will catch y'all later. Peace.